out of Cairo coming to East St. Louis. Thought you got nervous, Barry. She blew that whistle. She blew the whistle this way. That train in Murfreesboro. I was intending to get off in Spoil, Illinois. I got up and waved my hand and told her goodbye. This way she'd keep walking on into East St. Louis.
The king of the hobos. He is this character who is a doctor, this wild, crazy character. Among anarchists, he was an anarchist.
Ben Reitman, absolutely one of my absolute heroes. I read about him, I researched about him, I thought he was a really interesting guy. I mean, a real Chicagoan, a lot of hustle and chutzpah and guts and colorful and all over the place. I mean, that's what Chicago's all about. He held his ground and he stood up there. He was a complicated character, and that's the other interesting thing about him. He was like a real human being.
I was standing on the sidewalk in the front of our house. I was a 4-year-old sea urchin of the streets. A funny-looking organ grinder with a funny-looking music box, and a still funnier-looking monkey came along. I followed them as they made stop after stop down the street. I am convinced that it was neither the man, nor the music, nor the monkey that led me abroad that afternoon. It was rather an enlarged migratory instinct that found in that instinct its first stimulus. The organ grinder and his monkey offered me the first invitation and the first excuse to make an excursion into the great unknown world.
He went to medical school in some strange way. He was working as like a janitor in the medical school, and the guy who was supposed to give a medical lecture one day did not show up, and Reitman puts down his tools, janitor tools, and gets up there and delivers the lecture. He somehow gets money, goes to medical school, becomes a doctor, but not an ordinary doctor, a street corner, a street front, storefront doctor, you know. He takes care of prostitutes and hobos, people without money. He gives gynecological information birth control information to women. He does things that doctors don't do.
Well, it's said that if you were in town and if you were interested in politics, or if you had just come out from riding the rails, if you arrived at night, you knew to look at the end of the building, right where it meets that little low building adjoining it, and then count up 8 floors. And if you saw a light on up there, you knew that the doctor was in. And you could go in there if you had a medical problem, he'd help you out. If you wanted a quarter, he'd help you out. And so that was the destination, but that light was said to be the signal in that particular building.
In 1907, a poster advertising a hobo gathering caught Reitman's eye as he waited for a train out of St. Louis. Reitman skipped the train, attended the meeting, and met eccentric millionaire James Eads Howe, a frank socialist reformer, friend of hobos, and founder of the IBWA, commonly known as the Hobo College. Howe inspired Reitman to open the Chicago Hobo College, where people could participate in debates, attend classes, and earn a degree, without the moral stipulations of other social service programs of the day.
Well, Hobo College was an organization which was a gathering place, and it was kind of like a club where people who were on the road or staying in Chicago could gather. It had a library. It was a place to sit in the winter. It was a place that was warm, but it was a place of dialogue where people could get together and discuss everything from the best place to stay the night to literature to politics. Probably some of the liveliest discussions in Chicago would have happened within those walls.
To many, Reitman is best known as press agent and lover to revolutionary anarchist Emma Goldman. To Emma's peers, Reitman was a fraud, a traitor, and her downfall. But his showmanship, publicity tricks, and brilliant stage sense brought thousands to attend her lectures on birth control, women's rights, and war resistance. But their 11-year association was no ordinary love affair. With frequent infidelities, Goldman became torn between her love for Reitman and her idealism of free love.
It was both. They had this grand love affair, and then she was the one that got mad at him. Well, I mean, he cheated on her. She believed in free love, but she did not practice it. She did not want him to have affairs, so I think they kind of used each other.
No, I wouldn't say they used each other. I mean, it was a mutually satisfying relationship. I mean, it was tempestuous. It was obviously very satisfying. I mean, lots of sparks. I mean, it was a very creative period for both of them.
Together, Ben and Emma published the anarchist journal Mother Earth for 10 years, arousing controversy and backlash from authorities and conservatives. As a founding member of the Dill Pickle Club, a counter-institute for the arts, Reitman brought in world-renowned speakers with a flair for irreverence. Through the hole in the wall at Tooker Alley, patrons were invited to step high, stoop low, and leave their dignity outside.
There had been forums before where there were debates, going back to Haymarket times, and even before there were a lot of debates in Chicago. But the pickle was added humor and eccentricity. They liked controversial topics. They had a speaker on homosexuality. One of the sayings was that Sunday evening events at the Dill Pickle were Monday morning headlines.
A pioneer in his work with birth control and the prevention of venereal disease, Reitman spent his final years working at the Chicago Department of Health.
He was hired through the Social Security Administration, I believe it was, and his main job was to promote the testing programs and to talk about syphilis. This man, Ben Reitman, for whatever flaws, was standing up and saying, this is never going to work. People are always going to have sex. And you need to talk to people. You need to find ways to talk about them. You need to erase the stigma. You need to erase the taboo. Out of an era of great poverty, prohibition, and repression, Ben Reitman's message that free speech and free education create freer lives continues to this day.